Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning out there, our listeners. Welcome to Inside Nigeria talk show, and of course, the breakfast show for you from Monday to Friday, where we always dissect leading front page stories of some national dailies and as well discuss a critical issue inside Nigeria. And of course, this morning I'm not alone. I am with my colleague joining me for the first time on the show, Winifred Ogbe. But Winifred, welcome to Inside Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So how do you feel to be on this show?
Very good, thank you so much.
This is Inside Nigeria.
Yeah, this is good.
All right,
So,
of course.
welcome everybody to our program Inside Nigeria.
Thank you, Winifred. And of course, as usual, we have a guest with us this morning. He's not new. He's an Abuja-based public affairs analyst and a journalist with the Blueprint newspaper, Mr. Taiye Odewale. Odewale, welcome to Inside Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
You are not new.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And of course, listeners, as usual, I'm starting with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, The Leadership. On the front page of Leadership this morning, uncertainty over electronic voting as INEC gets zero budget. Uncertainty over electronic voting as INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, gets zero budget. Odewale, you covers the National Assembly. What is your take?
Uncertainty.
It means we are not going to exercise voting electronically in the 2023 general election.
I think INEC has not assured the Nigerians that voting in 2023
will be electronically.
will be done electronically.
But they say they are ready.
What INEC have been telling Nigeria is that there will be electronic transfer
Of results.
not electronic
Voting.
voting.
But the electronic transfer of results, Odewale, is one of the components of electronic voting.
Yes, it's one of the components, but when you say electronic voting,
It looks
if
direct.
you say electronic voting, yes, that's 190,000 plus voting centers across the country. That voting must take place electronically. Kabunga will say, we have the facilities for that to carry out such an exercise electronically. I'm talking of
The money itself,
not transmission of
result. To have machines physically in polling booths.
But this zero budget, whether electronic voting or manual voting, I think since the election is less than 2 years, it's about 1.5 years to this time. The required budgetary provision is supposed to have been provided by now. So there will be very good preparation by the Electoral Commission. So it's what is up that there is zero budget as at today. So maybe when the National Assembly resume, and then we have to take his case to them.
But what leadership is trying to project this morning is the very uncertainty, because 1.5 years to the 2023 general election is not enough for you to make procurement of this machine. You need to demonstrate them. You need to be sure they are okay, they are foolproof, before you can use them in a general election. In fact, you even need a kind of a pilot off-cycle election to test them first before the election. And we don't seem to have anyone like that.
Leadership is right, uncertainty.
Yes, we are not sure.
The possibility of conducting election electronically is slim.
And this has implication for the electoral process. It means people promising us credible electoral process are not sincere.
That is it.
All right, Winifred, I think we move from Leadership to the next newspaper, which is the sister publication of the Leadership, the National Economy.
Yes, National Economy has on its cover, weak naira threatens importation of capital goods into Nigeria as import bill hits 70%. Weak naira importation, and naira, the devaluation of naira goes hand in hand with importation. So, sir, what is your take on this?
In fact, what in Nigerians is like telling Nigerians that it's obvious truth. Because if naira is weak, automatically there will be difficulty to import for importation of capital goods.
Okay.
Since for you to import those goods, it's not naira. It's not naira you are going to use. It is dollar. And when your naira is weak, that means the quantity of the capital goods you want to import will not be up to what is required. Meaning that the central bank and the government generally needs to find something to make sure that the naira stabilizes by not depreciating further. Because the country is a consuming nation.
Yes.
And then if you now have weak currency to even import what you want to consume, that is a serious problem at hand.
But don't you think that that would have given us enough impact to concentrate too in our own exports and build all these local indigenous companies?
A very good
instead of importing.
Thank you. Very to diversify, exactly. Concentrate on our own this. But you cannot do that one in a day or in 1 month. And government have been successive government over the years have been promising to diversify, but practically nothing like that have been seen to have been done by any of those government. Perhaps maybe the danger at hand now will now force government to be more serious in looking inward, developing our own local industries to manufacture, to produce a goods instead of taking whatever money we get from oil exportation to go and be importing all manner of things.
I think I said it all. Yes. We are a consuming nation. We import a lot, and of course, we don't expect our naira to be very, very valuable because we rely on a foreign exchange to do.
And now that import is no longer favorable, considering the weak naira devaluation, because you cannot expect that. I think $1 now is up to how many?
500 or something.
500.
So it's no longer favorable. It's no longer attractive importation. So what are you seeing the implication for the Nigerian society, which is a consuming nation, consumer nation, consuming import products?
The implication anyway, the way out is for government to concentrate more on agricultural and the mining sector. Those are the way out. I thank God even before we have modern day governance, people have been doing subsistence farming to sustain themselves for survival. So I think the problem will not all that affect food security. But what it will affect, perhaps sorry to say, is what you are wearing or what Nigerians like to wear, whether as a cloth or shoe or what have you, and some other materials like this studio where we are now. If you are to be assessing all the compartments, we discover that there are a lot of imported this thing. So that is an area we need to encourage local industries to produce those things.
Yeah, Odewale has said it all. Like the implication you are asking about. Of course, naira will be at the mercy of dollar all the time. If we keep to import, we remain a consuming nation. Exactly. So we need to diversify, like Odewale said. We produce and we become an exporting country to make more foreign exchange than being a consuming nation. Now, Winifred, we need to go back to the front page of leadership to discuss one of the issues that is dominating the front pages of Nigerian newspapers this morning, and that is the Plateau killing. And of course, joining us this morning to shed more light on this is Mr. Dan Manjang. Mr. Dan Manjang is the Plateau State Commissioner for Information and Communication. Mr. Dan Manjang.
Mr. Dan Manjang, good morning. We are so happy to have you on the program.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
Okay,
can you hear me?
Mr. Dan Manjang. Mr. Dan Manjang is the Commissioner for Information and Communication in Plateau State. Welcome to Leadership Podcast Studio on our breakfast talk show, Inside Nigeria. And of course, we shall be discussing the Plateau killing. Mr. Manjang, bring us up to speed the situation in Plateau as we speak.
Well, as a matter of fact, thank you very much for the opportunity that I've been given. If you say I should bring you up to speed, what we are right now, the latest is that there's a curfew being imposed on Jos North local government. I hope you can hear me. There's a curfew being imposed on Jos North local government, and the curfew is in place. Everybody there's high level of compliance, and the city is calm. I'm just going around the city. His Excellency, the Governor of Plateau State, is also going around today to assess the situation himself to make sure that the situation is calm, so that we can also have a security meeting and review the situation. But as I tell you, arrests have been made. So far, about 33 people have been arrested. But the city is calm, like I said. That is the latest that I can tell you right now.
All right, Mr. Manjang, this is not the first time arrests have been made. We have seen arrests over time, but we don't get to see prosecution. We don't get to see punishment for these heinous crimes. Is it safe to say that your peace effort in Plateau State have failed because the cycle of violence has continued unabated?
Yeah, we cannot say that the peace effort on the Plateau has failed. It hasn't, because punishment, when the governor, punishment is at different levels. The security have their own form of punishment. It's a chain. The governor gives directives, and then whether it's complied or not is another issue. And whether when arrests are made, you have to now take these people, the suspects that have been arrested, to a low court and then arraign them before the court. And we know what happens in Nigeria. As far as we are concerned, the government has been able to do its own bit. It is left for the security and for the prosecution. If we had not taken the measures that we have taken so far, I can assure you that there would have been no Plateau State today. It is because of the measures that has been taken by government, the proactive measures that have been taken by government, by putting institutions in place, by supporting the security with equipment, with resources, that we are where we are today. We have enjoyed relative peace for the past 6.5 years until recently. The dimension of what used to be is no longer what it is. It is because of even the body language and the disposition of the chief executive of the state, the Right Honorable Simon Bakola Long. And that is why there is a Plateau State today. There are various laws that have been put in place. There is anti-land grabbing law. The governor has signed the bill into law. It is left for whoever feels shortchanged to go and go and seek redress, go to court, and then apply the laws. What we have been able to do, we agree that there's a lot that needs to be done. As a government, we have a responsibility. We saw to the Constitution that there's a need for much to be done. But to say that the peace effort has failed, it hasn't. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had anywhere called Plateau State today.
So, Mr. Commissioner, hello, are you hearing us?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
What exactly are the obstacles to obtaining a lasting peace in the Plateau?
The obstacles to obtaining a lasting peace is that we as a people have not been able to eschew our prejudices. We have not been able, everybody looks at his own community and wants to shield it. For example, the various warring parties are saying, the warring parties are blaming the opposing parties. If there's a harder farmers clash, everybody wants to own his own. Nobody wants to speak and call criminality by name. Everybody owns his own criminality and excuses it. We must be able to eschew as leaders, as community leaders, as a people, eschew our own prejudices, outgrow them, and above all, what is coming from the religious institutions, they should be able, both the clerics as Christians and Muslims should be able to go back to the drawing board and see whether their adherents are actually listening to them, and see whether what they preach is palatable. Do we preach love? Do we preach hatred? Because there are people that are extremists that go to the extreme, and it is not good for our polity.
Mr. Damajan, there was also allegation of partiality. There are allegations out there that the Plateau State government is siding with a particular side in this Plateau war. Also, there are allegations that the Nigerian federal government itself is siding with another side or with another, warring group in this Plateau milieu. How true are these allegations? Mr. Damajan.
Well, I am happy that you said it's an allegation, and let it remain at the point of allegation. There is no leader, I can tell you, there is no leader that in his right senses that would see his state burning. Even if animals, even if property are destroyed, we are not happy. And it remains at the position of allegation. On the Plateau, for example, there are 53 ethnic groups. And there are all these 53 ethnic groups have all kinds of religions. Some don't even believe that in God. So how can you as a leader begin to go and fight with them? Those are the kinds of narratives and those are the kinds of discourses that divide us, that disunite us. I don't share in that kind of sentiment, and the governor and government of Plateau State does not share in that kind of sentiment. It remains at the point of allegation, and it is unfortunate that that is the narrative that is going on and being perpetrated by people. And that means, what that means is that we have a long way to go.
So the other leg of the allegation that whenever it happens to one party, the federal government of Nigeria will issue a statement to condemn the incident, and when it happens to another party, the federal government will keep silent. What's your take about that allegation?
It is not, we don't share in that kind of sentiment. Government speaks at all times of the divide. That is the sentiment that we share. We don't share in this kind. We don't take sides with anybody. I don't speak for the federal government. I speak for Plateau State government. And if anybody holds that kind of view, he is entitled to his opinion. That is not my sentiment as an individual, and that is not the sentiment of Plateau State government.
Okay, lastly, Mr. Commissioner, sir, you said some arrests have been made over this killing. I hope they will be prosecuted and made public and not swept under the carpet like we've been saying all around the country.
Yes, that is our prayer too, because even in the past, arrests were made of community leaders. The governor gave an order that communities, anytime there's a crisis in a community, the community leaders should be arrested, because the people that perpetrate this crisis are human beings. They are not they are not angels from heaven. They are not unknown. They are known, and so the community leaders should be arrested. They were and placed on bail. And even the crisis that happened on Saturday, there are some of them that are on bail that have been fingered, and the law is going to, their bail is going to be revoked, and they will be prosecuted.
Mr. Dan Maja, we hope to see Plateau return back to its old glory. The peace in Plateau is crucial to peace in Nigeria. And
Thank you.
Just be a darling city for all in the 80s and 90s, and we hope it will go back to that status. Many thanks
it is our prayer also.
On the
Thank you.
Leadership Podcast Studio on our program Inside Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
We'll be talking to Mr. Dan Maja. Mr. Dan Maja is the Commissioner for Information and Communication in Plateau State. Odewale, you heard him.
Yes, I heard him. And I know that all of us are noticing that if not for the curfew imposed,
and other measures they've been taking.
not even another measure, he said there wouldn't have been a plan.
That's over now. That's very, very unfortunate. All right, Odewale, we need to take a short break.
Both at the state and federal level need to move it quickly.
And that's what we're talking
We'll go for a short break, and when we come back,
we take the discussion to the next level.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
All right, welcome back, listeners and viewers out there. And of course, we are on Inside Nigeria, and we are still in the studio with Taiye, Odewale, an Abuja-based public affairs analyst and a journalist with the Blueprint newspaper. Incidentally, the next paper on the menu this morning is the Blueprint, and the front page of Blueprint 2023. I didn't rule out Atiku, Tinubu, says Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, popularly known as IBB. 2023. I didn't rule out Atiku, Tinubu, says IBB. Says, I only talked on what to look out for in the next president. Babangida emboldened Jonathan. Babangida emboldened Jonathan take over Yar'Adua's presidency, says Femi Otedola. And of course, the last angle to the story is that Babangida is, Otedola is felicitating with the elder statesman at 80.
incidentally, but this story seems to every paper
Be a running story since last week when he granted that.
and even in all the papers today.
Exactly.
Leadership also has it.
Exactly on the front page.
Yes. And then this day too also has it too.
Odewale, I know you listened to the IBB interview on Arise News to mark his 80th birthday, and the quality is outlined for the next Nigerian president.
I've read the story, the full story.
Exactly. It was actually Nigerian newspapers who interpreted the stories.
The former leader, he just been diplomatic with what
He was saying.
said. He didn't need to name Atiku.
He didn't.
When he said that Nigeria should look forward to those within the 8 bracket
60.
of 60.
Exactly.
Atiku
Of course.
is off
60.
8 bracket of 60.
Tinubu is too.
And Tinubu is almost getting
5.
out of that. That was what. But now he said that he didn't rule them out.
Of course.
He just saying that.
You only advise Nigerians, so we are free to choose anybody. He's right.
Anybody.
But what is your own take? The
Well,
next president of Nigeria in 2020, who it should be like?
I think I've experimented with people who are at the 8 bracket of 70 and above. I'm referring to the former president, Joseph Obasanjo, and then the incumbent president. I think Nigeria should look at the direction of those within the 8 bracket of 50, 60, and see whether with requisite qualification, experience, and what have you, not just on the basis of age.
But does it have to do with age? Because when Obasanjo was there, he was aged and he performed incredibly well. Should we look for the age, or should we look at their mental state, capacity, frame of mind, and be sure that psychologically they are ready for the work?
Yes, the more you ready.
Irrespective of the age?
Irrespective of the more you ready, but at the same time,
Age
at the same time,
be a factor.
the required steam and energy must be there.
Exactly.
For example, look at the former president of America, Trump, over 70. Look at the current president, over 70.
The difference.
But the difference is clear. Biden is not as energetic
As
Trump. The steam is not in him. And that's the reason why we hear of America in the news now. Because nobody can cheat nature. The Obasanjo you mentioned had the grace of God that is still strong at that age. You know, there are some people who are even up to 90.
And it might not be common.
It's not, you get that one out of 500 who are within that age bracket, that you still be very, very active at age 70. So,
and write books too.
So Nigeria should do, as IBB recommended or suggest or advised, Nigeria should look in between the lines ahead of 2023 and know the type of president.
Odewale, I don't see the advice actually having effect because it's not enshrined in the law books. And Nigerians, when the time comes, sentiment will now come in, we abuse all manners of reason to actually do things our own way. And they say it's only a fool that will do things same way
and expect to get different
and
results.
At the same time, it doesn't work.
For instance, the last election too, but the 2019.
Yes.
There were youths that came up talking of Kingsley Moghalu, who again?
But on the election
day, the youth thought otherwise. And so you cannot actually go and force the youth that you must vote for this kind of person. The decision has to come from the electorate.
What about the structure?
Yeah, the structure itself is
As we
another
have it
problem.
today now, only 2 political parties.
The consciousness is not there
Have the required structure
to win a presidential election.
Anybody for presidential election and possibly win. I'm talking of the winning party, APC and PDP. So if
They are not being controlled by
anybody
youth.
within a bracket of 50, assuming APC and PDP put forward 80-year-old, 75, and then the other party, somebody will come up with 50. Where is the structure to market such a person?
Yes.
That is the problem, because the Nigerian constitution, election contested in Nigeria by political party, not necessarily by an individual. It's by political party.
I agree with
So it is how strong your party is that you determine your chances of winning the election. So APC and PDP, I think they are the one to please help Nigeria by bringing forward people who are within that age bracket.
Odewale, and I think beyond even the political parties, all of us, we have roles to play. We need to conscientize ourselves that this country is for all of us. We need to move forward. We need to get the right education. And when voting, we should know that it's beyond religious and all tribal sentiment.
And
it's for betterment of Nigeria.
And in addition to Bode, we're talking about stomach infrastructure. It still plays a role. You discover that those that are within the age bracket,
that's where the orientation
they don't
comes
have the
in.
money to give to an old woman in the village.
That's where the orientation comes
that feels that money is everything. And it's only the elderly ones, like we are talking on, that have the capacity.
And to buttress your point, stomach infrastructure and the platform, the facility for that stomach infrastructure is reside with APC and PDP. So the other parties you are talking about, they don't
have the financial wherewithal to do
and
that.
the poverty is the bottom line. And every voter in Nigeria, we want to collect something from whoever you want he or she to vote for.
Yes,
that's the problem.
All right, we need to move to the last newspaper for the day on our menu, which is the THISDAY Newspaper. Okay. And of course, on the front page of this day, is an international news this morning. As Kabul falls, Buhari says Africa is new frontline of global militancy. As Kabul falls, Buhari says Africa is new frontline of global militancy. And of course, Kabul is the capital city of Afghanistan. It fell yesterday to the hands of the Taliban. Who took over the presidential villa.
The president is on the run.
Yeah, he has fled the country. He said he wanted to avoid bloodshed. Odewale,
and Biden is blaming Trump
for not handling it very well.
Yes.
No, I don't think that is not because just Biden. Trump spent 4 years. US has been involved in Afghanistan for about 20 years.
Yes.
Biden, how we be blaming Trump for not handling it. I think Biden, we are in August.
Yes.
Biden came on board in January. If you want to intervene, you're supposed to have known that the Taliban were having upper hand than the government. You're supposed to have reinforced the forces of the government. Not now that Taliban have already overrun the whole place. You now say Biden, and that
I know most of the troops have already left.
Yes, and we should not forget what led to the overthrow of Taliban in 2001. I think we all remember.
Yes.
Because Afghanistan was the haven of
Osama bin Laden
terrorists and
exactly.
what have you at that time. I just pray that this time around, Taliban will not, after taking over the government of that country, will not allow terrorists to make Afghanistan their place of abode. That will now call for international attention.
But what
That's
President
like Buhari says.
Yeah, that was our going. That is trying to open our eyes to the implication
exactly
in Africa, even Nigeria as well, that we should devise appropriate ways of tackling ideological terrorism. It doesn't go away easily.
In fact,
we've been backing our own since 2009.
If I to hit the nail on the head, this thing is a bad omen for Africa.
And that's what President Buhari is saying.
Because you remember
that's why he's raising the alarm.
The late Babe Yusuf funded Boko Haram.
It's an the alias name.
There is a name.
The Jamaatul Libyas was Sunnah. Yes.
Boko Haram.
Yes.
He first funded Afghanistan in Yobe State. He went to Afghanistan in 2001 to fight on behalf of the Afghanistan. It was when America defeated that he came back to Nigeria. So now the Taliban is taking over. So people like that with radical views, they see Afghanistan as a place to go to and get themselves more radicalized and then get empowered and what have you. So it's good that the president, our own president, is seeing the danger. So he should be proactive. Just be proactive.
Yes.
So that whatever they are doing there, they will not be able to report.
Security agencies also must shine their eyes to make sure they do the right thing without fear or favor.
In respect to what you said, they don't even need to go to Afghanistan. Do you know these terrorists in Africa? They only just get emboldened by what just happened.
Yes, what they see on internet and the rest of them.
They try hard enough. They took also capture countries.
So we can't go and sleep with our two eyes closed as a nation. Many thanks to you.
I think Afghanistan is a peculiar case. Okay. Because not only in Afghanistan you have Taliban. You have Taliban in Pakistan. But they have not succeeded in overthrowing government in Pakistan. Although causing one havoc or the other here and there. So maybe they have the Afghanistans themselves, maybe majority of them key into the ideology of the Taliban.
Yes.
That may be the case.
Yes. By helping them to because America sunk billions of dollars in that war and they couldn't see it through. All right, many thanks to you, Taiye Odewale. Taiye Odewale is an Abuja-based public affairs analyst and a journalist with the blueprint Newspaper, and of course my colleague on Inside Nigeria Talk Show this morning, Winifred Ogwebo.
Thank you so much for the
tomorrow.
Yes.
And of course,
So
viewers and listeners out there, my name is Mbodi Gbadibo. Bye bye for now.